He's Tom Verducci back here on the show. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing well, Rich. How are you?
All right, let's start with the here and now tonight. How do you expect this young pitcher, this young stud from the Dodgers organization, Urias, how do you expect him to play tonight against John Lackey and the Cubs?
I think he's going to be really good, Rich. I mean, I watched this guy go into a game 5 in the NLCS. They were down by 1 run, elimination game, obviously, and he threw the ball great. He's been playing up, if you will, against competition his whole life. Always been the youngest one on the field. Undefeated at Dodger Stadium. I like this kid a lot. I don't think he's going to pitch deep into the game, but I think he'll pitch well.
Oh, my gosh. What's happened to the Cubs' bats then?
Tremendous pressure on the Cubs.
Yeah, I know.
To me, it's about the first time around the lineup. First 2 innings for the Cubs tonight, absolutely huge with the way they're swinging the bats. If Urias shuts them down first couple of innings, it's like, here we go again.
They're pressing, it seems, 1 through 9, and this is supposed to be something that doesn't happen with Joe Madden keeping everybody loose and relaxed, et cetera, et cetera. What has happened to the Cubs' bats, Tom?
Yeah, a couple of things. Addison Russell, who missed a lot of the postseason last year with that hamstring injury, he just looks overwhelmed right now. And he talked about his inexperience in the postseason and his youth, and that's really showing off. He's chasing right now. You saw last night. Madden used Hayward to pinch hit for Russell late in the game. And Anthony Rizzo is just getting attacked with one curveball after another. He's chased a lot of them, doesn't look comfortable. When I look at the Cubs lineup right now, Rich, the question is, where is the offense coming from? Because they have, as Joe Madden said last night, they haven't hit many balls hard. It's not like, they're hitting into tough luck or they're grinding out at bats. These are fairly routine outs in the lineup. So looking on paper, I don't know where the offense comes tonight, but they better hope it comes quickly.
Tom Verducci joining me here on the show. So does tonight's result play into the Roberts decision on when to push the Kershaw button next, Tom?
Yeah, I asked Dave Roberts that question yesterday, and he said not until after Game 4 will he commit to Game 5. I think he's leaning towards Clayton Kershaw, no matter what happens. Because Clayton didn't throw a lot of pitches in his last start at Wrigley Field. He came out of that start really well. I mean, it's amazing to me that this guy missed 10 weeks with a herniated disc, and I haven't heard him mention boo about his back in the last couple of weeks. He seems to be Clayton Kershaw of old. So I think he's gonna fire the bullet with Kershaw in 5. That way, if it goes 7, he's got him out of the bullpen at some point. I just think he feels like Dave Roberts does. If Kurtz tells me he's good, why not throw him out there?
Yeah, and give the red meat to the fans, too. The fans being able to, if it's a closeout game or obviously the pivotal Game 5, that plays to the crowd and gets that place nuts if Kershaw takes the mound. Think about that.
Agreed, and it's kind of like with Terry Francona throwing Corey Kluber out there. Now, he has some other issues to deal with, but when you got a chance to put a team away, there's no such thing as a giveaway game in the postseason. You're not saying, all right, if we lose this one, we still have them on full rest for the next start. No, you try to step on the throat when you're in position to do it.
Yeah, and so I guess that means you had no problem with Francona up 3-0 pushing the Kluber button there for the first time in 3 games, 3 days rest for him. You don't have a problem with that one?
No, not really. I always like it when managers err on the side of being aggressive. And, if he hadn't pitched Corey there, if it does go 7 becomes a complete bullpen game. He literally has no starting pitch for 7. Now he can bring Kluber back if it gets 7. I thought Kluber threw the ball well. Sanchez was just better.
Tell me about who this kid Ryan Merritt is. Who is he?
Yeah, you called it 11. And he's soft-tossing lefty, really. He's not going to break 90 miles an hour. Pretty cool customer. I think the one thing he's got working for him is that Toronto hasn't seen him, and sometimes they do have trouble with the guys who don't have velocity, with the big swingers on that Toronto team. I think first time around the lineup, advantage Merritt. After that, advantage Toronto. So again, that's another game where you'll see a quick hook.
And what about Mr. Drone? If this thing goes back to Cleveland, do we see him again, or is that pinky just beyond repair right now for Trevor Bauer?
I don't know, Rich. I don't see it happening. The fact that you can't go out there with, any super glue or really adhesive on those stitches tells me the same thing would happen again.
No.
It's surprising to me they threw him out there in the first place to get that many stitches. Obviously, it was a deep cut, and to think that you could throw 95 miles an hour and have it hold up with nothing on it was kind of naive, if you ask me, and I don't see how they could go in and try it again.
So our poll question is, do you think this series in the NLCS goes back to Wrigley? What do you say to that, Tom Verducci?
I do, Rich. As bad as the Cubs look, I do have to believe, and you referenced this, that Joe Madden has a way of keeping this team calm and cool, actually relaxed. This is clearly by far the biggest test. I mean, ninth inning down in Game 4 in San Francisco, yeah, it was big, but they still had the advantage in the series. We're talking about a team that was not in first place for all of one day the whole season. That was back in April. They've never trailed anybody, really, except for that day the whole year. So this is the first time they're playing from behind. This is the moment we find out about them. I think they'll respond well. If they're watching this team for 6 months, I just can't. It's hard for me to believe that they would continue to stay at this offensive funk tonight.
But if the one thing that would concern me if I'm a Cubs fan as well, though, is, Tom, it looks like everything that the Dodgers have planned for is working. And by that I mean getting Urias up in the middle of the season, getting him ready for this possible moment, rehabilitating Puig, to getting Carlos Ruiz, who's getting big hits. All of the buttons, whatever Roberts is thinking of doing, whether it's the sabermetrics with his sensibilities, it just seems it's all working for the Dodgers right now.
That's a great point. Now, all those things are true. And the fact that Dave Roberts started for the first month of the season trying to manage a conventional bullpen, it's like, hey, this is my 7th inning guy. This is my 8th inning. Well, that didn't work. And for the last 5 months, he's been managing an unconventional bullpen. And as we're seeing throughout this postseason, that's what plays this time of year. So they're very comfortable playing these games where you're making 4 or 5 pitching changes. And I'll tell you the other thing in terms of their planning, their advanced scouting on both the Nationals and the Cubs have been outstanding. And when they zone in on their advanced reports, they do not deviate. You saw that against Bryce Harper, all the fastballs up and away. You've seen it here with the curveballs against Rizzo. They stick to it, and I give them a lot of credit because what they've done advanced scouting-wise and matching up pitchers on hitters, it's been picture perfect so far.
And lastly, just I guess on the broadcasting side of things, just watching the studio show that you are part of occasionally as well in Fox, A-Rod is terrific. I mean, he seems to be in a spot where he's comfortable and he's natural and he seems happy. I mean, have you learned anything about Alex Rodriguez through being a television colleague of his that you perhaps didn't know covering him as a baseball player?
Well, it's just kind of reconfirmed to me that Alex is a baseball rat. He's always been that baseball player who saw outside of himself. A lot of guys don't do that, and that's typically a very good thing. But Alex loves to watch, even when he was playing, he loved to watch other games and study what other people are doing. So he's essentially doing on TV what he likes to do anyway, which is break down games he's not playing in. And I think that's unusual for a player, especially a guy who's just coming off the field. And you're right, it definitely plays well in the studio setting.
Excellent. Tom, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. If the series comes back to Los Angeles, I'd love to get you in studio here, okay?
You got it, man. Anytime.
Thank you. You bet. That's Tom Verducci, MLB Network.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.